Welcome, welcome, oh welcome! It is Tuesday! It is the 2022 version of April the 6th, I think. And you're back here with me, Sean Butler, from the Spurs Talk Show. At Spurs Talk Show on Twitter, at Spurs Talk Show on Instagram, at Spurs Talk Show on YouTube. Hashtag no spaces, all one word, because you will maybe find content from other Spurs channels. And not all of those Spurs channels are Tottenham channels. Some of them are Spurs from San Antonio. And we don't want you to find them. We want you to find this. How's everyone doing? What a weekend, ladies and gentlemen. What a weekend. I mean, could it have gone much better? I'm going to do the player ratings on a different show this evening, or maybe a recorded video, because it will take me about half an hour, 40 minutes to go through all of the individual accolades from such a well-earned, amazing team performance that saw Tottenham overcome the Magpies 5-1, and in so doing climb above Arsenal to go into fourth spot, at least temporarily, until they played last night. But before any of that happened, the weekend started out with a welcome surprise as Chelsea were battered 4-1 by their West London rivals Brentford. I mean, who'd have thunk that? Well, you know what? Christian Eriksen thought he'd turn on the old skill set 99 that he has and do Tottenham fans a big favour, because he played out of this world, as did Brentford, and Chelsea looked woeful. Looked like the pressures of what's happening with Abramovich and their ownership vulnerabilities might be starting to crack. And you know, they've got issues with players, Christensen and Azpilicueta and Rudiger. None of them want to sign, they all want to leave. They're going to have a whole new defence next season. And you know what, guys? I'm not sure that they're far enough ahead in the Champions League race to rest on their laurels and think that they can't be caught. Because they got some tough games to come as well. And they're only 7 points ahead, I think. And they're 7 points ahead, maybe with a game in hand, I think. I'm not sure. Can't remember off the top of my head. My head's very cloudy. Before I get any further, let me apologise for my absence from the channel for the last 2.5 weeks. Ever since the West Ham game, I have been bedridden. You might even be able to hear the deep, chesty nastiness that is still lingering around inside my life vessel. It's been awful. It's been the worst 2.5 weeks. Not sure if it was COVID or if it was just a chest infection and something else, bit of normal flu, but my God, man, it's knocked me sideways. This is the first time I'm coming out. Thank you for continuing to stop by the channel. We're at 786 subscribers at the moment, on the way to 800. It's happened so quickly. So thank you to all of you who managed to find enough value in the content to click on the subscribe button. If you haven't already done that, when you're new here, then welcome. If you wouldn't mind hitting the button, that would be fantastic. No pressure. If I haven't done enough yet to earn that right, then I'll ask you again in the future. But for everybody else, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button on the count of 3, because that would really help the algorithm. If it helps the algorithm, it helps me, because it helps people find me and it helps motivate me to do more of this. So if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button on the count of 3, that would be awesome. You ready, guys? Quick 3. 1, 2, 3. Bang! That's all we need. Anyway, can you hear the sheep? They're all having their bubbles. The babies are out. Very cool. So the weekend started with Chelsea getting battered, even at home, to Brentford. And then a few hours later, we saw another one of our top 4 rivals, Manchester United, look woeful, inept, inadequate, and ineffective as they try to take on a inconsistent Leicester City. And Man United were pitiful in that game, pitiful. You know, what happened to some of these players? Bruno Fernandes, 2 years ago, was one of the best players in the world. These days he's half the man he was. Looks disinterested and devoid of any kind of creativity, the way that he used to, at least. Cristiano Ronaldo, when they play with him, they can't win unless he puts in a masterful performance, like he did against Tottenham. And when they play without him, they're devoid of creativity. It's an enigma. It's a strange one. Anyway, they drew 1-1 and should have lost the game. So the weekend started brilliantly. Unfortunately, then we saw West Ham beat Everton quite comfortably. I think they're probably still in the top 4 race technically, just because there's enough twists and turns left in the season to think that there's no reason why they couldn't close the gap. They played a game more, I think they're 3 points behind or something like that. So it's by no means done and dusted with any of the teams behind, like Wolves or West Ham or Manchester United. You know, as Tottenham fans, I'm someone that always said, as long as it's mathematically possible, I'll keep believing. And if you're going to have that vein of logic for your own team, then you should probably be consistent and say that they're not out of the race. Even though I would imagine West Ham's attention is going to be on their Thursday night affairs in Europe. And I just think Wolves were a little bit too inconsistent to really pose a threat, but of course technically they're still within it mathematically, so we're not going to write them off. Anyway, then came the Tottenham game, and it was so important. It was so important that we didn't let ourselves down. So many times in the past we've had the opportunity and then we've Spursied it and just dropped points unnecessarily against teams that we should be beating. And we should be beating Newcastle. However, Tottenham until the last few weeks, have had a very easy system to be employed against them that many teams in the bottom half of the table use successfully to suffocate the life out of our offensive threats. Starting with Southampton away back in January, when Salisu got sent off and they went down to 10 men. They scored first, and then we ended up with a 1-1 draw, but they just sat back. They did the low block with moments of high press, but generally low block. And then Tottenham couldn't figure it out. Then Watford did the same thing, and we only just beat them in the last minute. And then, of course, Wolves scored early, sat back. Southampton the same. Burnley, Middlesbrough. All of those teams used similar tactics of doing the low block with moments of high press. And Tottenham were not paying attention to the transitions in play and really struggled. And so it was an easy system to employ. The only teams we did well against were teams that didn't play their system based on who they were playing against. They played their own system regardless of who they were playing against. People like Liverpool or Man City, Leeds, for some stupid reason, Everton. But regardless of that, we seem to have figured out how to get results, like the Brighton game, West Ham game yesterday, where teams do come in, sit down, sit low block, frustrate, and we figured out how to do it. And that figuring out, in my opinion, is because we now throw additional men into the mix, with the likes of Doherty getting super high up, and then he sometimes is even joined by Royale, or on the left You have Ben Davies pushing up the pitch, throwing an additional man up into the mix. Usually can offer enough little space with some quick 1-2s between like the likes of Kulusevski and Højbjerg and Doherty to be able to break them down through clever triangles, and then we can get it in and score a goal. The difference between those games and yesterday was we went 1-0 down in the 40th minute, and that was a worry. And yet, despite going 1-0 down, we pounced back really quickly. And you know what? I haven't got time right now to do the player ratings. I'm going to do that on a separate video when I get back to the office, because there's too much to go through, too many accolades to distribute. Everyone played fantastic yesterday, apart from maybe 2 people. Thought Hugo Lloris had a bit of another bad game, and Emerson Royale probably wasn't great. I know he scored a goal and I'm really happy for him, but he probably wasn't you know, that effectual going forward. The rest of the team was just phenomenal. There's probably 6 or 7 candidates for man of the match in my opinion, and every one of them has a justification. But we'll get to that in the other show. The difference was we go 1-0 down against a team that does the low block and that has these offensive threats that mean that it was always going to be difficult on the counter-attack as well. Chris Wood being so lanky, having, you know, Dan Burns at 6'7" also on the pitch, and Tottenham being generally vulnerable mostly from the air or from set pieces, and having these giants against us, you know, there was always going to be risks and always going to be a tricky day, but it didn't end up that way. The second half was probably the best team performance I've seen from Tottenham since I can't remember when. You know, second half against Ajax obviously was good, but I think actually that was just good because of the stakes. I don't think we played fantastically well in that game. I thought against Newcastle we were just a different beast in the second half, and we've scored so many goals now in 2022. You know, we're averaging about 3.5, 4 goals a game ever since the Leeds game. I think we scored more goals in 2022 than anybody else in the Premier League. I think we've got more expected goals per games. You know, I think we've got the 3rd highest amount of points in 2022, only just behind the 2 big guys. You know, Liverpool and City. It's all going very well, guys. It's all feeling quite positive at the moment. So we come away from that game thinking, well, we're in 4th spot. You know, how else could this weekend get any better? And it got very much better last night, didn't it? With Bugsy! Shh, Bugsy, away! Away, come here. Sorry guys, 1 second. Sorry about that. My dog almost got ran over by the combine harvesters. That's usually my dog's playfield throughout the winter when the corns aren't growing. But now she wants to go over there and play, but that big green beast almost chewed you up, didn't it, eh? Where was I? So, Arsenal, what can they do? Tottenham put the pressure on against a young Arsenal team that haven't done it before. Would they choke? Would they sink? Would they swim? Would they roar like lions and reinstate themselves as the premier team in North London? No, they didn't. They didn't do that. They lost 3-0 to Crystal Palace, a team managed by an Arsenal legend in Patrick Vieira, and they were awful. Awful. And it was a beautiful thing to witness, because we've all done our predictions on whether or not Tottenham would get there. Only the forever Bulls, the Perma Bulls, were calling for it from day one. A lot of people had every reason to think that Tottenham had no chance of finishing top 4 because Arsenal were too far ahead, Tottenham were too inconsistent. There was too many games, too many difficult games to play But you know what, guys? Things look a lot different today. Things look a hell of a lot different. We're now outright fourth. Arsenal have played a game less than us. We have the same points and a +5 goal difference over them now. I mean, where did that come from? You know, late January they had like a +13 goal difference or something mad over us. We've spun that around like to a different level. Anyway, we've still got to play them at home. The game's been scheduled for May the 12th. A lot of people are unhappy about that. I don't mind it, because I think there's every chance that the top 4 race could be well and truly over by then. If Tottenham can go on and get results in our next 4 or 5 games before the Arsenal game, I think Arsenal will choke, because they've got 4 tough matches coming up. They've got Brighton. They've got Brighton at home first, which is probably the easiest. And then they've got Southampton away, tough place to go and play football. They've then got Chelsea away, and we don't know what Chelsea is going to do anymore, but ultimately they're a very strong team. And then they've got Manchester United at home, and Man United will probably still technically be in the race by then and still be fighting, if not for 4th, then at least for 5th or 6th, and so they will want to win. You know, compare that to Tottenham's games. It's we have to focus on our games one at a time. Just get the job done, and I have no reason to think we won't. Starting with Villa on Saturday, but it's looking really good, guys. It's looking really good. I'm sorry if this video has been a bit jumpy, a bit like all over the place. So I don't feel well from that bug, and I'm just going to get back into it. So bear with me. The content quality will improve. Stick around on the channel. I'm going to do my player ratings a bit later when I get the stats in front of me and walk through each of the magnificent performances. And stick with the channel for more panel shows this week. Now I'm feeling better, I'm going to get back at it, bring out some entertainment and some fun and games as we discuss all things Tottenham as we move into the next 6-pointer for Tottenham against Aston Villa at Villa Park on Saturday afternoon at 5:30. I love you all. Like, share and subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you wouldn't mind. And I'll see you very soon. As always, guys, as always, bye bye.